Alright, today I'm working on my Bobcat 743. Mine's a 91 model. And got some wiring issues that I'm going to be addressing. So I just recently picked this thing up and it works good except for some electronics aren't functioning correctly. The lights don't work. Any of the lights don't work. And the voltage meter is off. It's not correct. The temperature gauge is a little bit off. The fuel gauge, when it gets down to half or a quarter tank, stops reading. Just a bunch of stuff related to the wiring. If you look in here, you can see the years it's been sitting outside. There's a little bit of corrosion that's taken place, and everything's pretty brittle. And there's been some hacks made already by the previous owners to the wiring. So I'm going to be addressing some of this today. Also, the hour meter just stopped working as well. So that's the stock hour meter right there. I'm going to be replacing it with an aftermarket digital one. Alright, so you can get exact replacements for the quartz style mechanical ones. You can also buy these digital replacements that look like these two here. So one of them has a button. It gives you a few options. The other one has a screen like this with the two screw holes. They both fit in the same basic hole. They both take a wide range of voltage, but in our case this 12 volt negative ground system will work. They have a battery inside that keeps the screen on even when the vehicle's off. Supposedly when the battery dies, they will continue to run off of the power. So even years from now, it'll just run off the 12 volts, supposedly. I bought one that allowed me to set the hours, so mine stopped at 1300. I'm going to start this one at 1300 hours. I will leave a link in the description to these two meters here, but it's important to note that you cannot get the one with the screw holes that lets you set the hours ahead of time. So what I did was, I bought both of them, and I just unclipped the front off of the one that I like that looks like it'll fit in the factory location, and snapped it on, and then I had to make a little recess behind there so that it wouldn't press the button. But that's a minor thing. You could probably just use this one just as easy. I'm just going for a certain look. So I'll leave a link for both of them in the description. But the button is the one that lets you set the hours ahead of time. You have a 1 hour window once you turn it on to do that. And you can set the hours to whatever the machine was. After that 1 hour window, you can't change the hours anymore. All right, so the first step is determining if it's the actual hour meter itself or the wiring. And if it's wired correctly, when you have the key on, you should, actually anytime, but for sure when the key's on, you should have 12 volts going to the hour meter, and then the ground is what actually powers it, and it's grounded out by the oil pressure sensor. That way with the keys on, even when the engine isn't running, your hour meter is not moving. It's only when the engine's running. So if you don't have a positive, so the best way to do it is just take a voltmeter and check these two wires that go into the back of the hour meter, and you should have positive 12 volts when the Bobcat is running. If you do not, you have a different problem. Most likely, if you can isolate that you have a positive voltage and not the negative, you have a problem either with the wire or the oil pressure sensor itself. In my case, I have the 12 volts that I need, positive and negative here, so it is that hour meter itself. All right, so I'm going to be replacing the hour meter. It's simple. You got a flathead screwdriver on the front. There's a nut on the back. You want to undo the nut and pull the old one out. All right, so the old one came out, not without breaking some plastic though, because everything is old and brittle and the nuts and bolts are all rusted out. But the new one does fit in the spot where the old one was nicely. So So we get that in there. And you could use the other one. Like I said, you don't have to use the one with the holes. This one will snap right in that spot. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the voltmeter while I'm here though, because I'm gonna be replacing it as well. That one just comes off with some nuts and bolts on the back. All right, so I've got my new gauge, voltage gauge, and the hour meter in. All right, so on the back, the voltage gauge is a little bit different. It's our two connections for battery, positive and negative, down at the bottom, the blue gauge there. And then there's a separate wire for the light, red and black wire. So the back of our hour meter here, I should mention that on this model that there's two terminals. It doesn't matter. Apparently you can hook it up either direction and it'll work. So it doesn't matter positive or negative. So I'm gonna put a little bit of dielectric grease on there and plug those in, and then we'll see if that's working. But now it's just a matter of reconnecting everything in the reverse order, and I should have a voltage gauge and a working hour meter. All right, so got it done, everything put back together. Use some zip ties here to help hold the plastic up to the metal on the roof. Went ahead and fixed my wiring issue for my lights while I was in there. Put a couple new fuses in, just kind of clean up all the wiring. Got my volt gauge now. But here's our hour meter. So it is working. And the way to know that it's working is when the engine is running. Like I said, it's running off the oil pressure gauge. This little hourglass symbol will be flashing. So I'll go ahead and start it up, show you what that looks like. Alright, so just a quick little video on how to replace the hour meter in your Bobcat 743, and it'll work on similar older models that had the manual or quartz style hour meter. Alright, we'll see you next time.